Hello, cinephiles, and welcome to Silver Screen Sips, podcast where three idiots talk about movies. And today we will be diving in The Hunger Games: Catching Fire with our special guest from the Steel City, J.V Hilliard.
The Steel City.
And how are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me tonight.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We've been a little MIA for a bit, so we appreciate you kind of joining in the return, I guess.
Oh, no worries. I mean, everybody's entitled to a break here and there, right?
Oh, yeah. I think we all needed one.
Yeah, honestly.
I'm sick of these guys, that's for sure. But before we begin, Lewis, you want to give our little warning to our viewers?
No.
Oh, all right.
They'll find out live.
We're going to spoil everything.
Yeah, no, just a reminder that there are spoilers ahead for movies and TV shows that you may not have seen yet, even though this one's also been out for about 11 years.
Yeah.
So just know you've been warned.
We'll start off with First Week in Hollywood segment. So
First week.
First Week in Hollywood?
No, I thought I said our first segment.
You said no. You said our you'll
Listen,
start off
it's
with
been
our
a
first
long
week.
day at work for me too. All right.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the 1910s. We're going to go through a history
Jeez.
lesson now.
Listen, I was on a shoot for like 10 hours. Okay, my brain's fried.
Understandable.
Anyways, so I always try to do the little segment intro, and it always sounds terrible.
You're taking it over from the intro guy. He is our intro guy.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Liz.
It's because I'm an attention whore, honestly. So,
Give me a warning next time. You almost made me spit my drink.
Now, to start off everyone's favorite segment of This Week in Hollywood, here's Isaiah with the weather.
Hello.
What the weather?
With the weather in Hollywood, in the hills.
Oh, I gave you this headline just because I think
Reasons.
you'll enjoy it.
I've heard many things about what's going on here. So AMC Theaters has changed their movie ticket prices based on seat location. Now there will be three different seat pricing options. The first is standard sightline, described as seats that are the most common auditoriums and are available for the traditional cost of a ticket. Then there's value sightline, which will be the seats in the front row of the auditorium. The discounted price will only be available to AMC Stubs member, however. The third option is preferred sightline, which is the seats in the middle of the auditorium and are priced at a premium to standard sightline seats. AMC A-list reserve seats in the preferred sightline section at no additional cost.
It's like a concert, basically. Like
Yes.
if you want to get a better seat, you have to pay more.
I understand why they're doing it, but it's not a good idea. It's probably not going to go as
I want to know,
planned.
do I have to pay extra to sit in the back row? Because that's where I sit.
I think because it was supposed to roll out a few weeks ago, but then they didn't do it, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Oh.
They decided it was a bad idea like Netflix did.
So it's not happening, is what we're hearing, or it's to be.
As of right now, it's to be
continued.
determined. It will be
Okay.
coming out at some point.
TBD.
We don't know when, but it depends on the theater too. Because like if you've ever been to an AMC, say like the Disney Springs AMC, if you go to the Dolby Theater, that would make sense for this because there is balcony seating in there. It looks like an opera house sometimes.
That's pretty cool.
You walk in, there's this giant LCD screen poster of when you walk into the door, and it's got like the movie that you're about to go watch and stuff like that, and it moves and it's nice and stuff like that. But you can also go into the second floor, which has a balcony, and you can sit on that.
Yeah, that I can get paying extra for because it's like all fancy and shit. But like going to like my local theater, which is, I'm not going to name which one, but it's trashy. I can't justify paying extra for that at all. Okay, Lewis, go ahead with the next headline before we get too off topic.
As always.
Yep.
Actress, definitely a candidate for GOAT status. Viola Davis has achieved EGOT status. I actually don't. At the 2023 Grammy. To achieve the EGOT, stars must win at least one Emmy, one Grammy, one Oscar, and one Tony Award.
Now you know.
Now I know. G.I. Joe. Thank you. Davis won the Grammy for Best Audiobook, Narration, and Storytelling Recording for her autobiography. She received her Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Dramatic Series for How to Get Away with Murder. Excellent show. Her Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for Fences, and her 2 Tonys for Featured Actress in a Play for King Hedley II. and lead actress in a play for Fenton. Congrats, Viola Davis. This is an achievement that is very well done.
Oh, yeah. I always was a fan of her. I honestly also had not heard of EGOT status before today. I don't know about Isaiah or Joe, but I was on the same board as Lewis.
In baseball, they call that hitting the cycle when you hit a single, double, triple, home run. And here, she's not only hit for the cycle, but she's already plugged in a second Tony. So she's on her way to a second cycle, which is ridiculous. And I will say this: I've been a Stubbs member for so long. I still have the shitty old card. They gave me a sticker. I keep this in my wallet like it's my lunch pass or something like that. So for me, hey, if they're going to give me free, better seating because I've been a Stubbs member for like 15 years, I'm down. I'll take whatever AMC wants to do for me on that one. I deserve it. I didn't even ask them for a real card. It's still like, it's dog-eared and it's ugly it's just horrible. I mean, look at the back. Hey, whatever. You guys get the picture.
That is also GOAT status or EGOT status. Yeah.
That's right. I've been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah. OG.
AMC, please sponsor us.
But yeah, anyways, congrats, Viola Davis. Sorry, AMC just stole your thunder. So,
Viola Davis, please sponsor us.
Yeah, right. That would be nice. Anyways, so our next headline: Ant-Man and the Wasp. All right, it's been kind of the talk of the town lately. However, you'll be surprised to know that it has only earned $225 million in its opening weekend at the global box office. So that's internationally speaking. So Ant-Man 3 is the first film in Phase 5 of the MCU, for those who didn't know, which will build towards Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, which I believe is the end of Phase 5. I could be incorrect on that, but
who the hell knows what Marvel's doing anymore? Because
yeah, all three Ant-Man films have been directed by Peyton Reed, and usually these movies have in the past have typically performed lower than the more prominent MCU films. With the first Ant-Man film ended its global run with $519 million, and Ant-Man 2 finished with $622 million. So it's not doing so great right now.
Yeah, the reviews have been kind of.
I've heard mixed reviews. I still have yet to see it myself, but it is in theaters now, so I guess I have no choice but to go see it and I guess rate it myself.
Since the beginning of Phase 4, with whatever movie that started with, I just haven't watched a single Marvel movie other than Doctor Strange and No Way Home. I'm tired.
It's too many. You're too far back where it's such a commitment. You have to watch. It's like the 31st MCU film. So you have to watch, if you've watched 2, you have to watch 29 other films.
Yeah, I'm good. Because even if I were I'm gonna go watch Ant-Man, there's gonna be
the shows. Don't forget the shows.
I'm not watching the shows. I refuse
to.
The
WandaVision was so good.
Loki was great, and that was the only Marvel show I watched.
WandaVision, man.
Season 2 was good.
If I'm allowed to comment here, and I'll shut up. I agree with you. I'm bored with it. You can't have. I mean, MCU. It's like every quarter it's a movie, and it's just hard. It's not just hard to keep up with, but it's also it's almost like overkill. It was an event. It was the summer movie and the Christmas movie, and then they're just turning out stuff that's just been subpar. I mean, the last one I liked Doctor Strange and the Multiverse stuff. It was okay. But, as much as I like Paul Rudd, I mean, I'm not excited to go see the Ant-Man Part 3.
I agree.
I know I'm a sucker, so I'll watch it. But I'll likely wait for it to come on HBO or some Netflix-y kind of thing, or wherever it goes, these days on streaming. Even though I should go see it in a movie theater, it's just and then they'll have another and then another. And they just had a Wakanda movie. And then it's I can't keep up with them. And the WandaVision stuff, I agree with you. It was very unique. Really good. Loki was really good, but it's just almost it's overloaded. Just give me a break between them. Maybe knock off, instead of having 4 movies released a year, make it 3 or go back to 2. And pace it a little better, and that way I won't get tired of it.
No, I 100% agree. They realized how much money they were making off of it. And they're like, well, let's just milk it till it's dead kind of thing. And the thing that's unfortunate too is that there's people like us that are like, it's not good anymore, but I'm going to go see it anyways. Because
the prosumer.
Yeah.
You could hear that bell ringing from the guy from Monty Python yelling, bring out your dead. You're dead. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
So it's like I think I'm there. I think WandaVision for me is when it sort of jumped the shark, and then everything after that's up par.
Yeah, I think WandaVision was definitely like the last good that MCU came out with. And I mean, a lot of people are like, well, what about, Spider-Man No Way Home? I'm like, when I was there in theaters and I was watching it, it was amazing. But afterwards, in hindsight, you look back. I see what
you did there. Amazing Spider-Man. I caught you.
Thank you. Another pun. In hindsight, I was like, it's only was good because of all of these nostalgic, like bringing back the original Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man. It's like, okay, if we didn't have that aspect, it's another subpart. Yeah, no one would have cared. I also just am not excited to see, like, I probably won't go to the theater to see Ant-Man. I'll probably wait for it to come on Disney Plus. I didn't see Thor Love and Thunder, and I think it's on Disney Plus now, and I still haven't seen it just because I don't care.
I wouldn't watch it. I saw it.
Bad.
Oh yeah, I heard it was bad. That's mainly why I haven't watched it, but
I can see that one coming a mile away. Like, oh, this is going to be a train wreck.
What a waste of Christian Bale.
Yeah, that's what makes me sad. That's what makes me sad. Is because like Christian, don't do it.
That's what Christian Bale's agent said to him.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it.
If you can see my cat, she just peed on my pillow.
Oh.
I'll deal with that later. It's probably because I haven't cleaned her litter yet.
Isaiah, I believe it's your turn.
Yes. The BAFTAs are now over, and the two films that seem to dominate the event were All Quiet on the Western Front and The Banshees of Inisherin. All Quiet on the Western Front won a total of 7 awards, including Best Picture, Best Director. Banshees ended up winning 2 out of the 4 acting awards of Original Screenplay and Best British Film. You can find the full list of winners online searching 2023 BAFTA award winners. And if you don't know what the BAFTAs are, it is the British Academy Film Awards. So it's the British version of the Oscars.
Basically. Still very high status. And I'm honestly, kudos to All Quiet on the Western Front. I saw that movie. It was really good for, especially, and I'm not a huge foreign film person because I have trouble keeping up with what's happening because I cannot read subtitles for the life of me. So to watch it in another language, but still like enjoy it as much as I would have if it were in English, like they did a great job.
I just want to point out that she also watches English movies with the subtitles on.
I do, in case I miss something.
And she still has trouble.
And I still have trouble. Yeah.
I didn't see Banshees, but I did see All Quiet, and I thought that, I agree with you, it was an entertaining movie. It was a violent movie at times. Well, obviously, it was going to be a violent movie at times. The ending was a little different, obviously, than the book, but it was, it offered something that the book didn't. The book sort of ends with this like scene where Paul's dead, but you don't know he's dead. You're looking through someone else's eyes, and the entire time, or through this single point of view. And the book ends without you knowing how he died. He just died. This kind of pushed it up against the end. It was a little. I enjoyed the ending, and I think part of it was because I didn't expect it. I just expected something else to happen, and didn't. And I was like, oh, this is, and the same thing basically happens, but it was. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it was really good, especially for a Netflix film. Just because lately Netflix has kind of been on the I don't know. I got a love-hate relationship with Netflix, but they did good on this one.
Yeah, would agree.
We'll see in a month if they're still.
Yeah. Lewis, what do you got?
James Cameron is now in a league of his own. The director's latest film, Avatar: The Way of Water, has officially overtaken his iconic 1997 hit Titanic to claim the 3rd spot on the list of highest-grossing movies of all time at the worldwide box office. Now the official list contains 3 of Mr. Cameron's film in the top 5 highest of all time. The other two being Avengers Endgame and Star Wars The Force Awakens. I don't understand why that last one's there, but
James Cameron is one guy, and he's made billions of dollars off 3 movies.
Billions.
I think his plan is just to make like Avatar take the top 5 spots, so that way he can be like, yeah, I am
so he has top 5. I would not be surprised, honestly.
He's like, you call yourself a director?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was an entertaining movie, but he basically took the last hour and just reintroduced us to Titanic.
That is true.
It is literally my problems with it were several. Right, that was one. I saw Titanic, saw Avatar, and then I saw Avatar on the Titanic. And I don't know how it was. Maybe because it was supposed to be 20 years ago and introduced to that, and I thought he could have done better. Secondly, the villain. It's the same villain. And thirdly, there weren't any avatars in Avatar. The one avatar is like the medic guy shows up, like from he's like, hey, let me help. And that was it. And that you presume that everybody is, there's no, I don't know. Like I really enjoyed it. The water scenes, the action scenes, they're ridiculously, incredibly good. Now, with the amount of money they put into it, they better have been. But like, and I don't want to be hard on it because I really enjoyed the movie, but it's like I saw Titanic, and don't need to see Titanic again in Avatar form, and that was a little disappointing to me.
It's funny you say that, given that Titanic has its 25th anniversary during like the 3rd week that Avatar was out, so theaters were playing both of them at the same time.
Yeah. I saw something about that. I think that I still have yet to see Way of Water.
Oh no! And I just ruined it.
No, I already knew most of it, like just from reading up on it and stuff.
But I think James Cameron has got to think about water.
Yeah.
He made The Abyss. He made Titanic. He made The Way of Water. He's got to think about water.
Yeah.
If Quentin Tarantino's got to think about feet, James Cameron's got to think
about water. Yeah. Okay, so lastly, we're going to talk about Disney and their ongoing effort to adapt every fucking animated film they have into some sort of hybrid live action CG adaptation. You can tell how I feel about this. They've had one of their films on their list for quite some time now, and it has officially been, I guess, confirmed that they're working on it. So they've had plans to give Lilo and Stitch the same treatment as they have with other films. They've wanted to do this since like 2018, but they're finally casting people. So they have casted Zach Galifianakis. Who knows who he's going to be? They haven't said.
He's Stitch,
I can
obviously.
Only imagine who. The search to find actors for Lilo and her older sister Nani have also begun. And Disney currently has it set to release in May of 2024. But we'll see if that actually ends up happening. So I don't know.
That is a tight for time frames.
Yeah, considering they're just casting. I feel like I got my blood pressure up from that last one. Anyways, so now let's move on. Okay, enough of us talking. I want to hear a little bit from Joe. So we've kind of come up with some questions that we wanted to ask you, just kind of about what you do, who you are, because people are probably like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he here? So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and then we'll ask you our questions.
Yeah, sure. So in brief, my name is J.V. Hilliard, but I am Joe. J.V. is just the little tropey thing my publisher makes me do for the covers of the books. But I write fantasy adventures. So if you like epic fantasy like Tolkien, or dark fantasy like Game of Thrones, and or some other things that involve gothic and cryptids and some pretty unique monsters, I weave them into my stories. And I'm right now in two stories into the Warminster saga, and it's a 4-book series. And the books are available pretty much anywhere you look for books, audio, ebooks, or paperbacks. You can find them. And the third one comes out here in April, and the last in the series will come out in the August or September timeframe here in 2023. So it's a little bit about who I am and what I do.
The concept sounds like something I know. Definitely, Lewis and I would be interested in the Lord of the Rings, kind of like more fantasy subject. I'm a huge fantasy fan. As soon as you said cryptids, I looked at Isaiah because that's more. I'm also interested in that, but it's definitely more of Isaiah's kind of area.
Have you heard of the Mothman?
Oh my God. Don't get me started on the Mothman. So that's Joe, for anyone who wanted to know. I guess I'll start with my question. How difficult was it for you to basically create like an entire world practically from scratch for your series?
Well, first of all, I'm a bit of a nerd, right? I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for a long time. Most of that time, I've been a dungeon master. So for me, I've created a number of campaigns, and what I did was just memorialize those campaigns and or some of the various areas that I've created, the geographies, and put them into what became the realm of Warminster. And so instead of Middle Earth or Westeros, I've got Warminster. And to some degree, it was easy because it had already been done. But it was really 20 years of tabletop role-playing games and my generic geekdom that brought it, to the fore when it was time to write the book. So I don't want to call it easy. It was, almost 2 decades of hard work, to make it entertaining role-playing for all of my player characters. And, I think that many of the stories that we created in our role-playing turned out to be one hell of a novel, or in this case, a series of novels. So yes, it's hard. It takes time. I have a little bit of OCD. So for me, I'm a big planner, and it had to make sense to play out. And it has to be your own unique world. Like I can't write in someone else's world. So I made my own. And, thankfully, as strange as it was, I kind of did it over a period of years by accident. And then when it was time to go, I was like, shit, I'll just pull them all together and it'll work itself out. So I made a map and went rolling. That's
pretty awesome. You mentioned the like dungeon master thing, and that made me think of, it wasn't a real D&D game.
It was super janky.
It was my version because I've never played, but I've always wanted to play. So I was like, this is a nice little like taste of it. And it's dumbed down basically like 20 degrees so that anyone could understand what the fuck we were doing. But I always wondered like how dungeon masters, is it basically like you create an entire story, or is it like you pick and choose from a source of some sort? Or is it like, I'm going to create your characters, the monsters you're going to fight, your world you live in, the people you meet, like all of that or is it like improv?
It's a bit of both, right? So like as a dungeon master, you're setting a campaign, a scene around a basic plot that the players or PCs, player characters, are going to follow through. And in order to be a good dungeon master, you have to be a good storyteller. So someone like me who, as an author, it's almost a prerequisite to be a dungeon master. And to your point, you have to, players do crazy stuff. And so you can't force them into a singular plot line. Sometimes they do things that will surprise you, and it's a better story than what you've created. And you're like, oh, I got to go with that. And you have to run at that moment to move the campaign in a different direction. In other cases, they screw up. And when they screw up, something bad happens to them. Sometimes their characters get killed and die, or the party loses and everybody dies. It's over. And you have to manage those expectations. You have to manage that gameplay. You get better at it as you go. And, you have to be quick-witted, I think, but also a good storyteller. And if someone comes up with a really good idea that you hadn't thought about, you have to, be able to hit the curve, right? And make sure that even if you have to soldier on for a couple of hours to the end of the session, the next session, you have to come back and know how to wrap that event around the next piece and either guide it back in the general direction of the campaign or say, you know what, this is better, and I'm going to go down this rabbit hole and run with it. So it's some of it's planning, others of it is, kind of flying by the seat of your pants, and you got to kind of be good at both, and you got to roll with the punches, and and then there's dice rolls. Like you can have the best story ever, and if the player characters can't roll the dice the right way, they can't win, right? Or vice versa. as a DM, sometimes you get on a little bit of a hot streak in a bad way. And so you can, as a DM, you're the god, basically. You can tweak it. And maybe that 20 wasn't really a 20, maybe it was a 5, and that big bad evil guy, the big boss misses just in time, and it makes for a better story.
Okay. Interesting. I probably would not be a very good dungeon master. I'm not, I don't think I'm that quick on my feet. I feel like I'd just be like, give me 5 minutes, please, to think about this. But yeah, I think Lewis also had a question.
I had a 2-part question, but you already answered the second part of it in Beth's question, because you explained about your background as a dungeon master. Because we were no, it's okay. We were all looking at your website, to get some ideas to ask you. In either case, my actual question now is, as I was going through the realm and story behind Warminster, I was just curious, was there like particular authors or events in real life that might have inspired you? Because I did see the references not just to Tolkien, maybe even like real life history, if you could put it that way.
Yeah, so you're right. Your first point about the characters, many of the characters in the novel were characters I either played or my players played their characters. They were inspired by them. Not, I have to break away. I can't use Dungeons and Dragons terms. They own those, right? So I had to create my own realm as part of that. So the characters morphed a little bit, but you can follow along sort of those character arcs and character tropes and things that you find, whether it's in Tolkien or Dungeons and Dragons or wherever. Any of the popular stuff like Shannara or Brandon Sanderson stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten some of my inspiration from play of the game, and I've also taken inspiration from a lot, in particular, from 2 places. One, my day job, I'm a DC lobbyist. I do government affairs for defense and technology companies, and so I see a lot of crazy stuff at the Pentagon. Right. Or just being in sort of the political nature of the city, you see how different parties react and individuals react, and then how international affairs is conducted. And a lot of that stuff is the basis for what happens in my novels. Right. I think that, using a Darth Vader kind of an example, I mean, Darth was good, then he was bad, then he was good again. But if you're looking through the eyes of Darth Vader, he was always doing the right thing. And sometimes good people make bad decisions and things like that. And so some of my characters, to ground it in realism, in a world that's created so fantastically, but you have to give for someone to just suspend their disbelief, they've got to feel some connection to it. And so making the characters real and really kind of juxtaposing them into real life scenarios that I've seen for countries and or individual political folks. When I built the 7 baronies of Warminster, I used some of my real life experiences to interact with that. And then I'm also sort of like an amateur military historian. So a lot of the battle scenes have some kind of real life example to them. For example, in book 1, The Last Keeper, a battle at Hom Hill, which is called Blood Ridge. And that's sort of the Battle of Thermopylae. Right. It's kind of like, almost like a Alamo. It's like a last stand and how they use their territory and their terrain and this castle against an overwhelming force in the same way that it was used against the Persians by the Greeks, or items that are developed just in the nick of time to win battles like Greek fire or quicklime or other kind of weapons that give someone a competitive advantage. In my novels, I try to take some of that, and I see that all the time at DoD. The Pentagon's always developing the next weapon, and we might not have as many forces in the field as some of our enemies, but because of our technological advantage, we have the superior Army or Navy or Air Force. And that I use those same principles in the novels because it makes sense. And when you see them play out, you're like, oh, how did they win? Now I know how they won. And it gives the good guys an advantage a little bit every now and then, like Q from James Bond. Hey, we got this great thing just in time to help the good guys beat the bad guys, right? And stuff like that. So I have a little fun with it, but it's grounded in both sort of like fantasy play and then also what I've seen in my real life experiences, in both DC and frankly in the professional realm.
Very well put. Yeah, I saw Isaiah's ears perk up when you mentioned Pentagon and all that government hullabaloo.
Hello.
I don't know, man. Isaiah, do you have a question?
But since you're an author, and I assume you like books, and
I like books.
and like reading them, I
Good
would assume.
assumption.
He's like, I actually hate reading.
So what is your a lot of books end up getting adapted into movies, so I was wondering, what is your favorite like film adaptation of a book that you may have read or wanted to see adapted or anything like that?
I think the one that was adapted that I liked the most was Fellowship of the Ring. I think that the first of the three
Good choice.
Lord of the Rings movies was really good. It was about of the three, it was the closest to the book, I thought. I mean, even though there's, things that you just couldn't fit, Peter Jackson couldn't fit into them. But, it was my Star Wars, right? It was episode 4. Like, for me, it was like, wow, this is really going to start an epic series. And it did. And it was fantastic. And they and I think Jackson did a good job staying true to most of Tolkien's stuff through that. And so I would think that that's probably my favorite. The one I'd love to see adapted, though, that hasn't been, to my knowledge, is either the Dark Elf trilogy by R.A. Salvatore, which has a D&D basis to it. And one of my favorite literary characters is Drizzt Do'Urden, who's his D&D character that he put into this now 40-book series. And when I'm sitting here around with 4 books and this guy's written 40, you're like, oh, yeah, like that's something to aspire to. But I think it's so visually appeasing. Like, I would love to see that in the theater, and the way it would play out, it would be a completely different, because it takes place technically in a magical realm underneath a mountain. And like to have that kind of a scenario would be so cool and unique. And then, of course, I've been watching from afar Joe Manganiello, a fellow Pittsburgher, who's trying to show run for Margaret Weis and her Dragonlance series, which, of course, if you like fantasy adventure, you're going to like dragons, right? So, I would say that that's probably, those are the two I'd like to see made, and Fellowship of the Ring is the one I think is my favorite.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I honestly was really hoping you'd just be like, actually, Hunger Games or something.
Great segue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We'll take it up from the top. No, I'm just kidding. I think that Lord of the Rings is a good answer. And then Amazon went and ruined it. But that's another topic.
Another show coming.
Yeah. They're going to become the next Disney. Just watch.
Oh, God.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, thank you for that brief little interview, Joe.
Oh, thank you.
Now, Lewis, do you have a drink for us today for this great movie?
Yeah.
You do? Oh, great. Good. I'm glad.
Because you said hullabaloo earlier, now I have the Courage the Cowardly Dog playing on my head.
Oh, no.
So we actually have 2 quick drinks. One is going to be Porter Quell.
Okay.
And the second will be known as the Tracker Jacker.
Okay.
We would like to give credit to our mixologist, Lawrence Long.
Thanks, Lauren.
Lawrence.
So sorry, Lawrence.
Sorry. He runs the bar at the Whisper Restaurant and Lounge at the Grove in Los Angeles. Apparently, Rihanna, Halle Berry, and J.Lo have been spotted recently. Ooh.
Whoa.
This was in 2020, so...
Oh.
Going on.
So not recently.
He apparently totally geeked out when developing the recipe. The Quarter Quell is more of a conceptual drink. The Quarter Quell was my take on the capital's societal effect. Chambord stands for the raspberries at the banquet, and because you build it in a glass and the drink gets tinted pink, it symbolizes their constant need to add layers and beautify. Orange twist garnish represents a bittersweet finish. So our Quarter Quell is a half ounce of raspberry liqueur, a half ounce of elderflower liqueur, Prosecco to fill the glass, and an orange twist to top it off as a garnish. Then our Tracker Jacker is going to be 1.5 ounces of gin, a 1/4 ounce of absinthe.
Oh my God. That's definitely a Tracker Jacker.
Yeah, it's a reference to the hallucinogenic effect.
Ah,
Clever girl. And you will have the juice of half a lemon, 1/2 ounce of honey syrup, and a lemon twist as your garnish.
Okay.
I like that one.
Yeah.
And I also like the Jurassic Park reference that you slipped in there.
Yeah, we've been saying it ever since we did a season on it. We just keep throwing it in randomly.
Clavico.
I'm down for Tracker Jacker.
Yeah, that's what I think I'm leaning towards as well.
I want to get lit. Let's go.
When people heard the absinthe, they were like,
"Oh,
yeah, I'm down."
It sounds because here's my reasoning. I think the quarter Quell, as much as it sounds good, I don't understand the theme, like the connection between that and the film. Whereas the Tracker Jacker, every ingredient makes sense. I mean, the gin is kind of like, well, gin just goes well with this, but the absinthe makes sense. The honey makes sense. The lemon, of course, is just the garnish. But I just feel like it's a more well-rounded than the other ones. I mean, they'd probably both be the same rating, but I'm gonna give the Tracker Jacker 4 out of 5, and the quarter Quell 3.5, just because theme.
Missing
the Tracker Jacker. It's the absinthe is hallucination. The lemon juice, the sting.
But like, there's like a reasoning behind each one. I think that's why it's
Each ingredient is like layered into the drink in a specific reference versus like the quarter Quell. He says in his quote, it's more of a conceptual,
like something they probably would drink,
right? And not even just that. It's a reference to like he was saying, the raspberry and the raspberry liqueur is a reference to the poisonous berries they had at the banquet or something like that. So,
yeah.
But in either case, I also lean towards the Tracker Jacker. I give it 4 out of 5. Quarter Quell honestly sound like putting strawberries in Prosecco and calling it a day. To be quite honest, nothing special. So I give it a 3.
Sorry, Lawrence. What about you, Joe?
I just the concept of the Tracker Jackers. I'm all about that. I would give that a 5 out of 5. I haven't tasted it yet. I love lemon. I love absinthe. I think this would be great, even though it's. I think that from a creative perspective, they really did a good job sort of matching it up with the movie. The Quarter Quell, cool name, super cool name. It reminds me of the concept in the books and in the movie where Snow had poisoned everybody, and he drank the poison himself in the beginning, which is why he bleeds constantly from the ulcers in his mouth and his throat. And I can see him drinking champagne and then spitting the blood in. It makes that color. And so I can see that stuff. It looks tasty. It might not have been as well thought out as the Tracker Jacker, but I would probably have one of those, especially like in a morning in Vegas when you're trying to shake it off and it's back in the game. I'll probably start with that. Like Tracker Jacker's an evening drink, the other one's a morning drink.
Yeah, agreed. So what would you rate the?
I'd give that a 4. I'd give that a 4, but just because I think it's going to taste good.
Yeah, that's fair. Isaiah, what about you?
I'd give them both 4s. They sound delicious for different reasons.
All right,
They're
a little more. Yeah, it's got. I was going to say Quarter Quell is definitely more of
my style,
up your alley, because you prefer like the sweeter drinks.
Yeah, and then
the other one just sounds like a good time.
It's here to kick your ass, and we're gonna have some fun with it.
Yeah.
I give both of them 4s because I feel like they would both be good for different reasons.
Yeah. I also want to add that I think the reasoning behind my rating is that the Quarter Quell is not a drink that already exists, but like in the movie, they probably saw when the blood comes out of his mouth and into the drink, they're probably like, oh, that was like their inspiration. Whereas like the Tracker Jacker, they had to really start from scratch.
Yeah.
It's a far stretch for what I just said, but
what's going to stand and cause hallucinations? All this stuff together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, thank you, Louis. Those were good.
Thanks.
I liked both, which is saying a lot.
Thanks. We'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's episode, Shaker Spoon. It's a monthly subscription service, bar quality recipes and ingredients designed by award-winning mixologist, of which I am not. If you'd like your very own subscription, then head over to shakerandspoon.com and use our promo code SIPS10, that's SIPS number 10, to get $10 off your subscription. Again, that's promo code SIPS, SIPS, number 10, get $10 off.
Great job. Good job, Lewis. Amazing.
Thanks.
Okay, now is time. It is time. That's proper English. It is time to play a little game that I've conjured up for you guys. You could call me a dungeon master or something.
Ooh.
I don't know. It's nothing. It's
Well
nothing.
played. Well played.
Just trying to segue, connect things. So today we're going to be doing Hunger Games trivia. Yay! Everyone's favorite.
Yay!
So for those who are new here, Joe. So basically, we each have a buzzer, not me, you three. And I'll ask a question. First person I hear buzz in gets to answer. If they guess it correctly, they get the point. First person to 3, in this case, will win.
Okay.
Easy
Did you
enough.
just check buzz? Is that the way it works, or is there an actual buzzer somewhere?
We so you have to just have to make a noise with your
Make a
mouth.
noise?
Yeah.
Gotta get her attention in the most
You
dramatic way
have to,
possible.
yeah. Normally each episode they've made up different noises, but I usually, when I edit the episodes, because Isaiah and I edit it, I usually throw in like a sound bite from the movie just to be funny. But they like to change it up to make me laugh because it's fun. So,
Yeah.
So I'm going to put when I edit this episode, I'm going to put Katniss screaming from the tracker from the.
Prim!
Yeah, just Prim. I'm gonna have Kat insert buzzer noise.
I don't understand why she screams like that. That was one of my cons I wrote for this. I was like, why does she yell Prim like that? It just doesn't sound right. Anyways,
Yeah.
okay. So
We normally do Bing and Bob.
yeah, bing bong. Whatever you guys want to do, you can surprise me. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Hunger Games Trivia. I have here with me Lewis. Lewis, how are you doing? You cut out.
That's how I'm doing. I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Isaiah, how are you doing?
I'm good. I want Caesar Flickerman here.
Okay. Anyways, Joe, our special guest.
I'm here. Ready to
You're
roll.
here. Great. So everyone knows the rules. Buzz in, get the right answer. Bam. First question is going to be, these are not going to be easy because I just want to give you guys that warning now because I went through and I tried to find trivia questions and they were all like dumb easy. So I really had to search for like tricky ones. So they're harder. First question is, how many tributes survived the first day of the Hunger Games, like the original film? First person to get the closest answer.
I'll buzz in.
Okay.
Plus 10.
10. You were close.
God.
Lewis, Isaiah.
Thank you.
Lewis.
8.
Okay. Isaiah.
So how many people survived the first day?
How many survived? Correct.
The first day. Oh,
First day.
I want to say 7.
Okay. So the points will be going to Joe. There was 11 survivors
That was
on the
close.
first night. So you were literally like one off.
Damn.
Yeah.
That was a slaughterhouse, right? I mean, I just remember everybody getting picked off.
Oh yeah. That left and right.
I think I couldn't see because of how shaky the camera was.
Oh my God. Dude, don't even. We'll get to that in a minute. So, second question. We have 1 point for Joe right now. Second question. Who is the first tribute to die? Now, before you answer, unless you know the answer off the top of your head. No takers. Okay. I'm going to provide 4 options. So once I finish saying the answers, then you may buzz in. So who was the first to die, tribute wise? Was it A, District 6 female, B, District 8 male, C, District 7 male, or D, District 3 male?
Thank you.
Lewis.
C.
District 7 male?
Yes.
Incorrect. Anyone else want to steal the point? Isaiah?
And say District 3.
District 3 female?
Yeah, whatever. I don't remember which one it was.
Incorrect. Joe, you have 2 options. It's 50-50 here.
And may the odds be ever in my favor, right? On my hands, I'm going to say 6. You said
District 6 female?
Yeah, I'm guessing. I have no idea.
Okay, District 6 female is also incorrect. No points for anyone. It was District 8 male was the first to die. If you guys don't remember, he basically rushed to the cornucopia for supplies, and then that's when Marvel killed him. Now, 1 point for Joe, 0 points for the other two. Okay, next question. Where does Katniss find PETA after he is injured? Ooh, Isaiah.
In a river, in a rock.
In a river. Correct. 1 point for Isaiah. That was a little bit easier for you guys. Lewis, you suck. Yeah.
He's cleaning up cat piss in the corner.
Yeah. I believe it's pronounced Katniss. Okay. All right. So,
full circle.
Yeah. Next question. Which tribute eats the poisonous berries? If you can give me a description, I'll take it. Joe.
She's the buggy-eyed, red-haired woman.
Buggy-eyed? Does anyone know her actual name? Because if you get the name.
No, I don't know.
She has a funky name. She has a funky name. It's not a real name.
It is. It's not a real name. So I'm going to have to give it to Joe. It's Foxface. Is her name.
Never
Foxface. Yeah. Okay, so that is now 2 points for Joe, 1 point for Isaiah, 0 points for Louise. Next question. This might be the last one. Who saves Katniss from Clove? Clove is the one with the knife that like mounts her.
Mounts her?
Yeah, at the cornucopia.
It's the big dude from District 12. I can't remember his name.
Does anyone know his name?
Finnick?
Wrong movie.
Nope. Wrong movie. Talking about the first one still.
Rip.
Isaiah, do you have the name?
You're going to say it, and then I'm going to know it.
Thresh. That was his name.
Thresh.
Thresh. Okay, so Joe, you basically won. Our guests seem to always win here.
Yeah. Wipe the floor with us all the time.
I'm gonna do one more question. This one will be for all the marbles, just because I feel like.
What? Just strip me of my title.
Listen, I'm the dungeon master. I can make up the rules. No. You won.
Well, we would like to thank our sponsor today. If you enjoy listening to movie-related podcasts like us, then you've got another great show for you to love. The Michael Blake Green Approved Podcast is a brand new show hosted by actor, comedian, and radio personality Michael Blake Green. With a new episode every Tuesday, Michael talks about what it's like to be a working actor, shares hilarious stories, and promotes his upcoming comedy shows. Recently, he's released a sci-fi short film called Anti-Artificial, which is available for streaming on YouTube.com. You can also find the Michael Blake Green Approved Podcast on YouTube or on the TuneIn app. We'd like to thank him for being a sponsor today.
Yes. Thank you, Michael Blake Green. Now, since you're already talking, Isaiah, why don't you tell us some fun facts about this movie? Because I feel like there might not be a lot. And I'm hoping you will surprise me.
Yes, I managed to get a full page.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
I don't know what that is in relation to your other fun facts. What's the longest amount of facts that you have had?
It was a solid like 2.5 pages. I think it was probably like one of the Harry Potter movies or something.
Pirates of the Caribbean had a lot too.
Yes. All right. Let's start with some filming stuff. Catching Fire was released in IMAX with 48 minutes of the total screen time, mostly of the arena inside of it being shot with IMAX cameras. However, given that at the time, IMAX cameras are like super, super loud. Like you can't record dialogue next to them because they're also humongous. And so you can't put them like on steady cams or anything like that because moving them is such a pain. And they're just heavy. And for reference, you guys can check it out in the Discord.
Oh, wow.
That is a picture of one of those cameras.
I don't know if I've ever seen one before, like a picture of one before. Those things that's a beast.
That is huge.
Yeah.
So the IMAX camera is loud. So most of the dialogue you hear while they're filming in the arena is ADR. They've had to go back and redo the audio.
That is hilarious because Jacob, who's my boyfriend, he was watching it kind of in the background and he was like, why does the audio sound like it was recorded afterwards? And I was like, look at you, little film like I was like, I'm rubbing off on you because now you're noticing these things, and now it has been confirmed.
Yes, it is ADR, which give me a second. I have to Google the name of ADR. I forgot what it was. It is not alternative dispute resolution. That is a lawyer thing.
Type film afterwards.
A film version of what ADR means is automated dialogue replacement, which is where they play the scene for the actor in a studio, and they then reenact their lines in the studio to then be able to dub it over later on to match it as perfectly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, actors who almost played Finnick O'Dare. Finnick, love Finnick.
Who's the actual actor? What's his name? I want to say he's like Australian or British or something.
Sam oh my God.
Try again.
Sam Claflin. There you go.
Sam Claflin. Okay.
Claflin. He is British.
Look at that. I was right.
Graduated from the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art.
They have the BAFTAs over there. Look at me tying in the original segment.
She's a pro.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it. Doesn't mean I do it well. I just do it.
It gets there sometimes, you know. So people who almost played Finnick O'Dare include Grant Gustin. If you don't know who that is the Flash, the CW Flash.
Okay. I was like,
Taylor Kitsch, who played John Carter in Disney's John Carter, which he's like 43 years old, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know how that would have been.
And then Armie Hammer is the last person, which I think would have been a very odd choice. So there's a shot of PETA proposing to Katniss in one of Caesar Flickerman's like show reels. He gets down on one knee. The take for that, Josh Hutcherson actually ripped his pants when he went on one knee.
Oh, really?
God bless.
That's pretty good. I'm surprised Jennifer Lawrence didn't lose her shit from that.
So for Finnick's introduction scene, Sam Claflin ate 2 to 3 sugar cubes a take. So the scene where he goes up and he eats the sugar cube, he did that 2 to 3 times, and he ate full sugar cubes each time. He ended up eating an entire box
in one day.
In one day when the shooting that scene.
Oh, jeez,
that's rough.
That scene always was cringy to me too, where he like eats it and he like holds it there for a second. He's just trying to look like attractive, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it.
He's funny. I think it's funny. Now, Kristen Bell is a huge fan of the Hunger Games, and she actively sought the role of Joanna Mason.
Oh, I'm so glad. That would have been Kristen Bell's too like, what's the word?
Cute.
Yeah, like innocent looking for the role of
Joanna.
Joanna.
For like swinging an axe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Veronica Mars doing the stripping scene in the elevator?
See, I'm thinking like Anna from Frozen, like super innocent. Yeah.
Speaking of that scene, the scene where Joanna Mason strips in the elevator was filmed in a real-life hotel, I believe in Atlanta. During the filming, the elevator unexpectedly opened with an employee on the other side carrying coffee. They just kind of stared at each other, realizing, oh, this is happening. And then someone apologized, the doors closed, and then everybody laughed really hard because, you know,
that's so funny.
She's sitting there stark naked in front of these 3 people.
I honestly thought that you were going to say he like dropped his coffee and was just like, like, whoa. That would be so funny. Oh my God. That guy's got a story to tell.
Yes, he does.
I bet no one believes him too. He's like, so I'm getting coffee, right? And like, I can't imagine anyone buys his story.
The Hunger Games is filled with a lot of injuries. These sets are cursed, and also because Jennifer Lawrence is very clumsy. Everybody gets clumsy when they're around her. So, continuing in lieu of all of the on-set injuries, we have a few more to add. Jennifer Lawrence burst her eardrum when swimming past one of the jets underwater during the spinning scene of the cornucopia.
Ouch.
That fucking hurt.
She was deaf for about a week in her ear. She also managed to hit herself with a bow mid-sprint. How did she do it? I don't know.
That sounds like her, yeah. That sounds more accurate.
Now, Sam Claflin, he broke his hand while performing a stunt. I could not find out which stunt it was, but he broke his hand during one of them.
I got to imagine, like, I'm trying to think of the most intense one. The most intense scene I can think he's in is like the one with like the baboons or whatever they're called. The monkeys.
Oh, the monkeys.
Where he's like fighting and he's like using the spear. I could see it happening there.
Probably. He also managed to run headfirst into a pipe.
Sorry.
He also broke his finger.
How did he break his finger?
It was another stunt.
At the same time, he broke his hand.
I don't think so.
Did you know Ego Mortensen broke his foot?
And that scene in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, when that happens, I know I'm gonna have to mention that. That's gonna be great.
Oh yeah.
Just
now
like
I don't know if you guys knew this.
Did you know? So in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Jennifer Lawrence said her, Josh Hutcherson, and Sam Claflin were all very clumsy on set, given, obviously the on-set injuries. Yes.
Yeah.
They said they could manage to fill a whole gag reel with just Claflin falling over. She also stated that he must have fallen at least once for every scene filmed.
That sounds like something I would do.
Now, while on the press tour, despite this being their second movie together, Woody Harrelson did not realize that Liam Hemsworth and Chris Hemsworth are brothers. He did not know. And the interview is online, so you can see the very moment where he someone mentioned about Thor, and then you can see it click in Woody Harrelson's head, and he goes, and he looks at him, he goes, "Wait a minute, you guys are brothers?" And he looks at, and Liam's like, "Yeah, you didn't know that?"
That's so funny. That's great.
And then for our final fact today, Ed Sheeran, hold with me. Ed Sheeran submitted 3 songs to be included for the film. They were all rejected.
Yeah.
And then the song that was chosen was Atlas by Coldplay.
Doesn't he do a song for the second movie for Mockingjay?
No.
Or am I thinking of? Oh, you know what? I might be mixing him with The Hobbit, because he did do a song for The Hobbit, which was weird.
Yes, it is very weird.
Yeah.
I think the next one is Yellow Flicker Beat by Lord.
Plot twist, the song was Shape of You for Smog.
Yeah.
The Shape of
That
Smog.
took a few seconons to sink in. That's just horrible. You had that cameo in Game of Thrones too. It was like that what the fuck moment. Like, why is Ed Sheeran in armor? Like, it was just kind of.
He's walking around. He's like, "Is that Ed Sheeran?"
Yeah. Ed Sheeran. Was that your last fact?
Yes, those are all my facts for today.
Wow. Good job. That was a decent amount. That was 1 page.
That is 1 page, yes.
That felt like 2. Felt like a decent amount of facts. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Now let's actually talk about this film, because we haven't really talked much about it yet, other than little quippy one-liners.
Yeah, my little one-liner.
I thought we were skipping that part.
Yeah, right. All right, guys. So we'll see you. Yeah, we just wanted to name the episode "Catching Fire."
Catching Fire, skipping movies.
Yeah. So, who would like to go first?
I think our guest can go first.
No.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did you think? What was your overall opinion on the film? What did you like? What you didn't like? And then give it a rating out of 5.
Yeah. You could even comment on it, how you felt about the book adaptation, if you know.
Yeah. I didn't read the book, so.
I read the books, and I saw all the movies. Catching Fire, I really enjoyed. I think that for a couple of reasons. First is it's the first movie on steroids, right? And at first, I was thinking to myself, "Oh, it's going to be kind of a repeat." Right? But it really builds momentum, and the title "Catching Fire," this is when the rebellion takes place, and you start, Katniss is, innocent of much of it, save for rumors back in her district in book 1 and in movie 1. And she's not worldly. It's their first time away from home, and she goes to this place wide-eyed, and a death sentence basically given to her so she could save her sister. She uses her skills and gets out of the first one and saves Peeta, and you think that, wow, they made it and everything's going to be great. Then Quell comes back and all bets are off, and you get to see all of these other survivors and how they've survived. Some of them not so well, right? And it's being thrown back into the crucible and asking them to do it all over again, only so that Snow can get her killed, right? And stop this rebellion. But she goes on this Victor's tour, right? And going on the Victor's tour, she's bouncing around and going to districts and feeling momentum of a rebellion coming, not knowing really how to handle it. And she's this innocent girl who was just doing something that was right, trying to save her sister. And now she is the symbol of this, coming revolution. And it's and for me, you could feel that build in the movie. I think Jennifer Lawrence did a really incredible job. I thought some of the scenes in the second one, like the monkey scene, was a little over the top, and some of the characters were a little like shaving your teeth down was a little weird. I don't know who does that, but whatever, and you would think that in this like futuristic sci-fi dystopian world, they would have like implants. You can do that. You have to actually, file them down or whatever.
Yeah.
Push the story forward. There's a will to it. I thought it was exciting. It was fun to watch. And even though, sometimes Hollywood takes over and you get kind of corny scenes and everything, I think the end really kind of sets up for, the finales. And, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, was it one of the best movies I've ever seen? No. But ultimately, I thought it did what it was supposed to do, which is a middle movie supposed to advance the plot, advance the characters, and here you see a lot of different things happening with all of them. Even outside with Gale, inside with Peeta, obviously with Katniss, and then you get the wraparound story of Snow and this boiling revolution that's about to take place, and it gets you excited for the third movie. You want to go back. You don't want it to end, and it didn't end on necessarily a cliffhanger. It ended exactly where it needed to end, where you've got this situation where Peeta's gone, Katniss is recovering, and the game is on, and you want to go right into the third one. You want to get It's like, all right, let's start that right after this movie. I had a fun time with it, although I'm a sucker for sci-fi fantasy, and I like the dystopian kind of the world building that had taken place that that she had done throughout the books, and of course was carried over into the movies very well. And I thought it was cast well. I thought the effects were pretty good, and I enjoyed it. And on a scale of 1 to 5, I would give it a solid 3.75, maybe a 4. And it put me in the mood to go see the final. Well, what ended up being the final 2.
I feel like you summed that up the best out of all of us, probably, Will. So everything you said, I was like, yes, I agree. Yes, that is well put. That was like the perfect summary. Ditto. That's my review. I think, it definitely. So, spoiler, this is my favorite out of the whole series. So just know that this is going to be probably my highest rated out of all of them. I gave it a 4 out of 5. A close 3.5, just for some of the, like you said, some of those cornier scenes where it's just like, oh, okay. But overall, I think, they definitely set it up very well. It wasn't a repeat, like you said, where it's like, oh, they're doing the Hunger Games all over again. It's like, no, this is way different. There's more than just people, person versus person. You have like nature versus people too now.
Yeah, there's a gravity to it, right? Like you said. I mean, and it pulls in. It's not they're fighting on this island, but the world is fighting above them, and even the political fight is happening on the island too, and she's unaware of it. And it's a really cool reveal at the end, right?
That's another thing I really enjoyed was Katniss's unawarity, if that's a word. If not, I just made up a new word.
Yeah, it's not a word.
Yeah, naive. Sorry, one of those words. She's unaware of what's going on around her, as are we for the most part. We get these glimpses, these facial, like these little brief interactions, but we don't know the full intention behind them until the end. And so like we're kind of, in a sense, Katniss, we become that character for a bit where we don't fully understand, we don't know who to trust, we don't know who's on whose side. And when she wakes up in the ship, it's like, what? When they're like, oh, there is no more District 12. It's like, not only is this news to her, but this is news to us too. So it's much more impactful that way, where instead, if they had shown, all of this backstory of what was actually happening behind her back, it would not have had as strong of an impact. I think that this film, compared to the first one too, the budget for this film was way bigger. You could tell that the first one was so successful, they were able to actually really put more money into this one with the effects and the camera work. Isaiah. Less shaky cam. Less shaky cam. It's not in 1080. We have a lot more like special effects wise is a lot better. Even set design. Like I loved their outfits in this film. Like they're I don't know what they're called, like a wetsuit, I guess, kind of thing. I just love, for some reason, that's like my favorite outfit in the entire series. I also think that the action, as much, I agree that the monkey scene was a little ridiculous, but like even the scene with the acid fog, that scene alone is just intense because it's a silent killer. You know, they're not even aware of it happening. Luckily, she was able to somehow sense it with her spidey sense, but I digress. Those kind of scenes alone were captivating and entertaining. One of the things that bothered me, maybe this is are explained in the books. Why does Finnick kiss Mags on the mouth? That was weird. I was taken back by that. I was like, I thought this was like a kind of mother-son relationship. Not that they're related, but like, I thought it was more of like, I'm going to take care of you because you're old. And then they have this kiss on the lips where it felt like more than that. And I don't know if if I was just reading it wrong or if it's something in the books that they don't explain in the movies. Just an accident. Maybe she meant to kiss him on the cheek and he moved. Like, I don't know.
I didn't even notice it until you said it. I mean,
oh yeah,
interesting. I mean, maybe there was some scuttlebutt about it on the blogs or whatever, but okay, I didn't. It was always
rewatching it. I was like, okay, that definitely happens. I'm not just like I'm not remembering wrong, kind of a thing. But yeah,
I'm sure there's some Screen Rant article about it.
Yeah. I agree also with like the backstories on the tributes, I think was really interesting, where you get to see what happens after the games, right? How does it take a toll on each character, and each person deals with it differently, whether that's positive or negative, like the girl who fucking files her teeth. That's one way to deal with it, I guess. Or you have like Joanna, where she's just pissed because she's like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be safe after winning the Hunger Games, and now you're throwing me back in just for the sake of your own entertainment and to get this other girl killed, like for your own personal needs, basically. I think, and you guys can tell me if you disagree. This is an issue I have.
I disagree.
You actually might agree. This is an issue I have with the whole series. And again, the books probably dive more into it, so I could be wrong. I feel that Katniss and Peeta's relationship is not as good as Gale and Katniss's relationship. I feel like the chemistry between Katniss and Peeta, the actors themselves, it's just like weird and awkward. Whereas when there's scenes with Katniss and Gale, it just feels like authentic, like they actually do care for each other. Whereas the other, it just feels like they're acting. I don't know. Do you guys disagree with that?
I just think it felt forced. That's about it.
Yeah. You have yourself on mute.
Yeah, I had muted myself when my someone came into my room. Yeah, no, I would agree that it definitely felt more forced. It didn't seem natural chemistry on screen. I was Googling the whole Mags Finnick thing because Joe mentioned it's really blogs kind of just having a little bit of scuttlebutt, but for the most part, the answers seemed unanimous in that they were like, I'm your mentor. I care about you. I can't speak. This is the way that I will, let you know that the last time, like, I'm going to die.
Okay.
And it was like a way more affectionate way.
I see.
To say goodbye, but yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
I think a kiss on the forehead would have done just as well.
Yeah, I mean,
keeping it platonic would have been just fine. A pat on the back.
I agree wholeheartedly.
You hit the nail on the head on a couple of things. I mean, one of Katniss's character traits is a protector, right? And in the books and in the movies, she protects Prim, she protects her district, she protects the people when the war starts, even if it ill affects her, and she's principled, right? Peeta is weak, and she knows Peeta is going to die, and she puts herself on the line to protect him. And it's more of in my opinion, more of a platonic friendship, love sort of thing. Like, I love you because you're my friend.
Oof. friend zoned.
Like the concept of like the contrived wedding, and this is the girl I loved and she didn't know it, and so that he can curry favor and gain, power within the game when people would send him stuff because he was not going to win. And then she felt like, I've got to protect you, so get behind me. Like, I'm your big sister. I'm here to protect you. And it was forced and it was kind of contrived, even though she affectionately loved him. She didn't have the passionate love that she had for Gale. And Gale kind of turns, right? He becomes sort of a little bit of a heel at the end. There is something there where they grew up and they clearly were meant to be with one another. And then the war divides them and people kind of fade away. And she's caught up in this whole, thing at the Capitol. And, it's Gale's left behind wondering, where's the love of my life? And then he joins to fight and all other kind of stuff. And so you see dynamics of the characters changing as they go. And I agree with you. I think she was much more passionate on screen with Gale, but I think that's also part of the story arc for both of them. Is like, this was supposed to be my boyfriend, got screwed up, and now I got to protect PETA and make it look like we're in love and we're going to get married and all this kind of stuff to protect everybody else. And then I'm sending the wrong message to the person I really love, which is Gale. It's a really complicated situation.
I feel bad for him. Oh man, that guy really got it rough. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I understand the concept with PETA and Katniss, and it's kind of awkward from the get-go. It's kind of just like, you guys have to like each other. So that does definitely take part. I think also behind the scenes, Katniss, Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson were kind of like a sibling relationship to begin with. Like, I think that's just how they got along. Like, they were just like buddies. So that also might have taken into play with when it came to on screen. They felt maybe awkward subconsciously, and that kind of came out maybe, but I digress. That's just my one man's opinion. I'm going to shut up now. Someone else talk.
What was your final rating?
4 out of 5.
I think you and Joe both covered a majority of what I would say. I also try to keep this short. It is a 4 out of 5 for me. I do agree with the scenes that had the prim scream. There was things that just kind of were a little cringy. I want to say, I guess, as far as like Katniss's character and Jennifer Lawrence's acting for that particular scene, but when they kill Silas as she's going up in the elevator. But yeah, that was done very well, and that stood out for me as a particular scene for like not just the story, but also like emotion in the acting. That's all I have to say. Isaiah.
And that's just adding on to what we said. You said you agree with basically.
Yeah. Okay. No, you guys covered the majority of it. I think Joe put it very well.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
I believe you guys put it together very well of what I was also going to say.
All right, so we don't even need to hear yours. Go ahead.
I just had a few thoughts that you guys didn't mention because it was just in my brain. There's a few points in the movie that I thought like PETA was going to be like a little moody bitch.
Like, to put it lightly.
Yeah, he wasn't?
There were a few moments there where he was like acting like immature child, basically, towards Katniss and everything that was going on. And then eventually, but then he actually like apologized, being like, "Yeah, I'm being stupid. That wasn't right to force my feelings on you." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that was such a mature thing." Okay, never mind. So that surprised me. Now, with the wedding being such a like Hail Mary move and it being such a very big thing in the movie, it kind of seemed like it just kind of got glossed over. We got married, by the way. We're not going to show you that we proposed or anything like that. We're just going to have Caesar Flickerman kind of explain it on a little blurb. Okay, next, moving on.
Well, they couldn't because he ripped his pants. They couldn't make that a scene.
It was so embarrassing for everybody. But yeah, it just felt like a weird cliff note of a very important plot point if they were going to, since they've mentioned it so much and how like important they made it seem. So it didn't feel like I got the screen time
recognition.
That it
needed.
Yeah. Also, Philip Seymour Hoffman, the GOAT. Love that man. Shame that shame that this is his like these are his last couple of movies. Really is. Yeah, definitely can tell the budget got increased. Also, the whole keeping Mags alive plot line, didn't really understand why it was in the movie. Didn't seem like it was necessary. Kind of felt like they could have taken that out. This movie is like 2.5 hours long. Really could not have, didn't need to include it. And I'm always a big proponent that if you're going to adapt something, that if you're going to, would you choose to adapt, should be, useful. and it felt the whole thing, her part being in that movie was just there.
I'm going to chime in because I see what you're getting at, but I think her role was pretty subtle, but overall made a very big impact on Katniss's opinion on Finnick. Because she even says it like, oh, as soon as, the cannons go, he's just going to leave her. But we see that he sticks with her the whole time and he truly cares about her. And then even when she dies, he still decides to stick with Katniss and Peeta. And I think it's a more subtle role that she had, but I think like overall she had a very big impact on like the other characters' arcs more than herself.
I also want to throw in that I think I don't remember if they did this in the book, but I think her character is meant to be, she represents the people that Katniss wants to help in the other districts. She represents the weak, the old, poor, people who are helpless against the regime.
But those are my thoughts. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I do genuinely enjoy this film. This is pretty much my favorite of the franchise. Definitely better than the first one because you can tell that they put more thought into the craft and what they were doing and everything that was there.
They purchased a steady cam for once. Yes.
What was going
a pair of tripods.
There was things that you could see now that, if in the movie you definitely would have been able to.
I never noticed it. And then when we were watching it, like when I was watching it and you messaged us and you're like, oh my God, the camera movement is making me sick. I was like, what is he talking about? And then I watched it and that was all I could notice. And I was like, oh, this is making me like mad because I'd never noticed how bad the camera movement was. And I know it's probably like they're trying to make it intense, but it's like, you can't even tell what's going on half the time.
Yeah. So definitely the budget helped. And so this one's a good one and it's entertaining. It does a good job of what it needs to do. Like Joe said, that it gets you into the, like, this is, oh my God, we're going to jump into the next one. Holy crap, this is what's happening. And I think it did a great job at that. Unfortunate, the next two movies are what happened after that. But
I don't really remember much of the next two. I just remember if we burn, then you burn with us is like the only part I remember. And the chick with the shaved head on the side. That's it. So
the two good parts of the next two movies.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, I give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, good. I think we all did we all basically
across the board 4 to 5?
Wow.
Us
I
agreeing?
guess that
Wow.
means something. Yeah. Let's remember this moment. Thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. And thank you again, Joe, for joining us.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you guys. I really had a fun time with this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You definitely say words better than we do. So
I try. Yeah.
It's almost like you do it for a living.
I wonder.
So if you want, why don't you tell our viewers, where they can find your work?
Yeah, so you can go to jvhilliard.com and find my work there, or you can visit Dragon Moon Press, which is my publisher, and you can find it there as well. But if you're looking to buy the book or download the book, you can pretty much find it anywhere from Amazon to Audible to Barnes & Noble to Apple Read, whatever. It's available ubiquitously.
I was going to ask you about Barnes & Noble because I have one right down the road and I was going to go check and see if there was one nearby.
If it isn't, you better order it from there. But thank you.
But yeah, no, seriously, guys, go check out his work. I don't know how many of our viewers read, but yes, I did just insult him, but that's okay. So yeah, go check it out. I'm definitely going to go take a look, and I don't read, so that's saying a lot. Thank you everyone for listening to today's episode, and we will see you next week with Mockingjay Part 1. Ooh, how exciting. See you guys.
Thank you.